Hey everyone, it's Hayes and it's time for another video featuring me complaining about season 5 of Miraculous Ladybug. I know it seems like I hate the show with some of the videos I've been making lately. I don't, okay? I don't. Like, would I realistically go all the way to Paris just to go to the cinema if I hated the show? Maybe somebody else would, but I wouldn't. I don't have the money to go and watch something in a different country that I hate. Like, no. Only go for things I love. So no, I don't hate the show, but I also can't deny at the same time that season 5 was a bit of a letdown, and so was redeeming Gaby Baby. So today we shall discuss why redeeming Gabriel Babes was disgusting. Disgusting! Now, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but it's my channel, but he was a child abuser and a domestic terrorist, and he also wasn't real, so I'm gonna do it anyway. Now, as far as Daddy Aggress goes, I did like him a lot as a villain, and by this I just kind of mean in general from season 1 to season 5. And as a professional writer myself, I always enjoy it when the villain has a strong motivation and is more complex. And to be honest, no, I wouldn't have said Gabriel was a complex villain, in my opinion. Honestly, the most complex thing about him is how he was a world-famous fashion designer when his designs were fine. They were fine. Nothing amazing. Nothing groundbreaking, you know?
Florals for spring. Groundbreaking.
But I did think he had a really solid motivation for doing what he did in the show.
However,
I do really dislike that they tried to redeem him. And I know there are people out there who are like, Hayes, he didn't get redeemed. I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert on this, but I do feel like building a statue of the bloke is, you know, in redemption territory. And also getting Adrian to believe he was a good person is too.
make sure that Adrian never knows about the villain that I was, but instead that he remembers the times I tried to be a good father.
Like, when were you a good dad? When you force-fed him your awful pancakes? Like, no. Anyway, you can choose to believe that he wasn't being redeemed if you like. And I know there are also people who are like, oh well, he died, you know, he was in immense pain, he got his punishment. Yeah? Good. What's your point? They still redeemed him even if he was in pain, and even if he's not alive to experience said redemption, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. He was redeemed. Okay. Before we go any further, there are trigger warnings for child abuse and suicide in this video, both of which will be talked about, so as always there are resources linked down below. So already, if the mention of those are triggering you, please just pause the video, there are links down below, resources to help you if you require that. And if at any point during the video, even if you're fine now, but if during the video you start to feel a certain type of way, please just pause the video and check out the resources in the description box. I don't want anyone leaving the video feeling in a worse state than when they started watching the video. So if this video isn't for you, I totally understand, besties. I hope you have a lovely day. So let's start, and let's start with that I am assuming right now, and if this doesn't happen at some point, I will be mad until the day I die, but I'm assuming that Gabriel's redemption will all come crashing down, quite literally, because Adrian will find out and then probably go and cataclysm the statue in the park and tell everyone what his father did, because Gabriel, quite rightly, doesn't deserve to be remembered as a good person, not like this. But I'm not sure waiting for this dramatic storyline is worth it, so let me explain. When you write for children, it has to be educational in some way. I've discussed this briefly before, but it's more obvious when you write for younger children. It's like, these are the colours, these are the shapes. When you get to the Miraculous age group, which is like 8 to 10 years old, it becomes a bit more abstract, and Miraculous teaches more about being a good person, saying sorry for your mistakes, being a good friend, kind of things like that. So whilst I am sure Gabriel's redemption will be addressed, and if it's not, I will be mad, right now the season 5 finale is teaching children that their abusers are good people, which is pretty gross in my opinion. The true extent of child abuse is unknown, as people who go through it often do not speak about it, and as such the statistics for it are inaccurate. However, the NSPCC, which is a UK-based charity that looks to prevent child abuse, reported in 2022 that 500,000 children face abuse in the UK. And Miraculous Ladybug, which is one of the few children's shows that does look at emotional abuse, which is something that is often not looked at in any media, whether it's for children, teenagers or adults, has just told its child audience, who unfortunately may have been able to identify with some of or with all of what Adrian experiences in the show, they have just been told that Adrian's abuser is a hero. Redeeming Gabriel is disgusting, and while I'm sure the ensuing plotline on the back of that all will be really grand and dramatic, I'm not sure it's worth sacrificing the well-being of your child audience for. Now, that's not to say you can't talk about more difficult topics with children of any age, and 13 Reasons Why is a really good example of this. So if you don't know what it's about a girl named Hannah who at the start of the book and Netflix adaptation is already dead. She has killed herself. But prior to her suicide, she recorded 13 tapes, each detailing a reason which led to her death. And the show concludes with her suicide, which when it was first released on Netflix, you see on screen, but I do believe they have taken it out now. You don't see it in the book, so it was definitely an odd decision to make, considering the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention told them not to do it, as it could lead to suicide contagion or the Werther effect. So the Werther effect is taken from Goethe's novel The Sorrows of Young Werther, where in the end the title character Werther kills himself, and this led to suicide contagion, and many others copied his behaviour after reading the book. And this effect is still seen to this day, particularly in countries like Japan and South Korea, but it can happen anywhere. It happens in the UK, it happens all over the world. Nowhere is like exempt from this effect happening. And as a result, many were worried that 13 Reasons Why would have the same effect. The show was aimed at young adults and teenagers, all of whom would be the same age or a similar age to Hannah as she is in high school in the show and in the book, and potentially maybe going through some of the same things with her. She has difficulty in relationships, difficulty at school, difficulties with her parents, and it may have encouraged them to kill themselves too. Thankfully, 13 Reasons Why had the opposite effect happen, which is called the Papageno effect, or the Papageno effect, I'm not sure how to pronounce it properly, and this is taken from Mozart's opera The Magic Flute. So Papageno contemplates suicide after loss, but his friends show him that it isn't the only answer, and it is now used to refer to suicides that have responsible reporting, and as a result offer support to those also in crisis, and the rate in suicide does not increase after a suicide. So there is no proven reason as of right now why exactly 13 Reasons Why had the Papageno effect over a Werther effect, but in my academic opinion, after researching suicide for 3 years, yes, I did a super fun PhD, I think it's to do with the scene where Hannah dies. So Brian Yorkie, who developed the show, said the scene was incredibly difficult to shoot and to even contemplate showing it in such detail. We did it very specifically. We felt like it would be too easy for us to make her suicide look glamorous and peaceful. It also would have been too easy to see her thinking about it and let the camera drift off. We wanted to confront the fact that suicide is messy, ugly, and it's incredibly painful. There's nothing peaceful or beautiful about it at all. It's horrific to endure, and it's horrific for the people that a person who commits suicide leaves behind. We wanted to tell that story truthfully, and as difficult as it is to watch, it should be difficult to watch. As I said before, in the book, you don't actually see Hannah's suicide as it's all narrated by Clay, one of her friends. However, in the Netflix show, you see how much pain Hannah is in. She asks for help multiple times from multiple different people, and she doesn't get it, and this is her absolute last resort. She's in so much pain in the scene, and then the viewer also then has to watch as her mum comes in and finds her daughter dead, and her visceral reaction is just as painful to watch too. So the next natural question is, Hayes, why on earth are you condemning Miraculous for redeeming a child abuser and not 13 Reasons Why for showing suicide when they both have a child target audience? The reason is, in 13 Reasons Why, you see the aftermath of all of it in one season. There's no waiting for a year to find out what happens, and yes, I know 13 Reasons Why, even though there's only one book, has had consecutive seasons, but they really don't have much to do with the initial season and Hannah's death. They're about other things going on in the school. But the first season of 13 Reasons Why has the whole story in one season. Like I said, there's no waiting a year or so to find out what happens next. You see how everyone, including Hannah, felt about her suicide in that moment. You see it immediately. You could watch the whole show in one day. You find out there and then. So I am assuming next season Ladybug will tell Cat Noir who Monarch was, and he will rightfully be very angry, but that's not going to be for a while. And as of filming, it won't be for almost a whole year. Could be longer if it gets pushed back, because of right now, I don't know. But right now, the child audience, who unfortunately a civic amount of them are more than likely being abused in some way, have been left with the message that it's okay for whatever adult to do this to them because they will be looked at as a hero. And that is why redeeming Gabriel is disgusting. Of course, I'm not saying it's the responsibility of the writers, directors, animators, voice actors, editors, whoever, anyone who is involved some way behind the scenes that contribute to the making of Miraculous are entirely responsible for stopping child abuse. It would be great if they did, but I'm in no way trying to suggest that. But what I am saying is that when you write for children, especially when you write something as serious for children, when you involve stuff like emotional abuse, you do have to do it responsibly. And this was anything but. It was done irresponsibly. The redemption wasn't even deserved, and it just astounds me that they can redeem an abusive dad and a domestic terrorist, but not a school bully who is also being abused by her mum. There are other things too that make the redemption make little to no sense. He was extremely horrible all season. For me, the scene in Pretension in the kitchen, the pancake sequence, was an absolute standout. He wasn't great in emotion or confirmation or revolution or transmission or deflagration or protection. And prior to season 5, I did believe Gabriel did genuinely love Adrian. But after his actions this season, I'm not sure he does anymore, to be honest. And while this possibly can be explained by Gabriel kind of going mad, as we saw in Evolution, that was like the start of his like descent into insanity, sympathy is required for redemption to work, which he lost for me personally in the season's opening episode, and it just got worse from there. Even if we take out all the scenes of Gabriel abusing Adrian from this season, his actions in general this season made him a horrible person, like potentially murdering Claudie in Intuition just so he could get his own way. Like I said, he completely lost my sympathy this season. There are also other sections. For example, Gabriel saw Natalie watching the clips of Emily in one episode, and he was just completely had no reaction to it really. If anything, I think it just made him more determined to be horrible to get what he wanted, and they didn't make him change. But when Marinette shows him the clips, they do make him change, even though whilst I know Natalie and Gabriel's relationship wasn't great this season, Gabriel at the very least likes Natalie and trusts her to some degree. He absolutely hates Marinette, so why on earth would Marinette showing him the clips make a difference to Gabriel? It really shouldn't, to be honest. And furthermore, they also did kind of make the whole point of the show redundant. To me, the whole point of the show is to prevent this wish from happening at all costs. But then the wish happens. So as much as I love this show, and I hope the final episode airs the day before I die so I can say I've watched it all and then I drop dead the day afterwards, I'm like, what's the point anymore, kind of? I'm still gonna continue to watch it, like I said, it's my favourite show, but you know, Gabriel made the world perfect. So why don't Ladybug and Cat Noir just keep combining their Miraculouses anytime there's crime or anything bad happens in the world? It just kind of makes the whole point of the show redundant, because Gabriel got exactly what he wanted. He won. Even if he doesn't get to experience what he won, he still won. Like I said, I hope this show lasts for a very long time. But right now I'm like, why? What's the point anymore? I do think there are ways they could have gone about this differently. So if they were dead set on Gabriel having redemption, I wouldn't have had Cat Noir hurt him back in Destruction in the first place, but I would have Natalie instead well and truly betray him. You know, maybe they get into a huge argument, I don't know, maybe he fires her or whatever, and Adrian's all upset and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna steal back those Miraculous and I'm gonna help Ladybug, and have Adrian maybe reveal his identity at some point, and hopefully from there Gabriel could see the error of his ways and they would rebuild a healthy father and son relationship in season 6 and onwards. Or if they were really set on Gabriel dying because of the cataclysm, I would have Felix actually get off his butt in the finale, whatever it was he was doing, rescue Adrian and Kagami, arrive at the mansion just in time to see what his dad is doing, but it's too late and the wish is being made, but he still sees it. So Adrian, in the recreation ending, is potentially very depressed after finding out who his dad was, that he's the one who did all of this. He didn't get to confront him, but at least he knows. At least he gets to heal. At least he gets some closure. I'm sure you can all think of different ways the finale could have gone to make it so that Gabriel didn't get redeemed or Adrian found out, whatever exactly you wanted to happen. Those are just two of my ideas for it, but just overall, redeeming Gabriel is disgusting. Not only did it not even make sense, really, but it also sends completely the wrong message to its primary audience of children, and one that could potentially be very harmful if your abuser is going to be looked at like a hero. Anyway, besties, those are just my thoughts on Gabriel's redemption. I know I'm not the only person who was annoyed about it, so I'd love to know what you think about what I've had to say, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!